There's no easy way out. I just wanna know there's no easy way out. No easy way out. I'm not asking for another chance.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the No Easy Way Out podcast. My name is Tony Nash, and we are coming to you as always from the Woodworth building in beautiful downtown Owasso, home to my company, AZ Business Solutions, where we help grow your brand from A to Z. Now I'm joined today, I'm excited about our guest today, one of my favorite people to talk to, someone that we rarely have a break in the conversation, never at a loss for words, and that is Laura Archer. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tony. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. We had you on last season, but we just didn't get everything out that we wanted to talk about. We had more things that need to be said.
Absolutely.
And so we wanted to come back and do this again. But Laura is the president of the YMCA in Owasso, very, very, very involved in the community. And we'll get deeper into that here in a little bit. And if you want to know even more, you can go back and watch the other episode because we talked a lot about your journey.
Yes.
But how are things going in your life right now? How's everything?
Going really well. Going really well. The YMCA is a wonderful place to be. I was thinking about talking with you today, and I think one of the words that best encapsulates what it's like every day there is we're surrounded by motivation. People are motivated to be there. We're a community organization housed in a fitness center.
Yeah.
And so people come, and it's a great place to see a cross section of our community. Mm-hmm. And it provides a lot of jumping off points for some of the other work that the YMCA does. So the YMCA work is going great.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way. All the people that are trying to be a better version of themselves, and you're probably going to see a lot more people here in a couple weeks. Right
Absolutely.
After the new year, everyone jumps in with those New Year's resolutions, and the Y will probably be packed for a couple weeks.
It will. It'll get busier, but, there's space for everybody. And, I'm just excited that the YMCA is so recovered from, being closed for 6 months with COVID, and that everything is as smooth as it is. So
yeah,
everything's moving along.
Got the youth leagues going again.
Oh,
and got
absolutely.
All the things are happening. So it's exciting for me to see that.
Absolutely.
Enjoying it. So it's almost Christmas time.
It is.
How are you feeling about Christmas? Are you ready? Are you prepared?
Not at all.
No?
No. And I'm the type of person, I usually shop year round. If I see something for somebody, I'll say, oh, that would be great for Tony. And I'll pick it up and I'll put it in my bin.
Yeah. I'll be looking under my tree this year.
This year, I don't know. I just haven't gotten it together. So, but we have time. 10 days?
I think so.
Yeah.
My daughter has a little countdown. How many nights sleeps till Christmas? And I think I saw this morning, it's by the mantle. I think it's 10 days.
Yeah.
But, we have 6 kids. So typically at this point, we're panicking because we're like, oh, man, we don't have, and when you're buying for 6 kids, my wife and I determined like 10 years ago, we're just not going to buy for each other. We have too many kids to buy for. So, but typically we get to this time, we're like, oh, my goodness, and even if you only buy like 3 or 4 gifts for the kids, that's 24 gifts.
Sure, it's a lot.
It's a lot. And typically we do a little more than that. So, but this year, my wife is like really ahead of the game. She's been buying stuff since September. We got some wrapping done yesterday. So the tree has been decorated since before Thanksgiving. Presents are on the tree. We have a few things left to get, but I feel like we're prepared this year.
I'm a little jealous.
Yeah.
I don't have a wrapped gift. But, my girls were little. I started a rule at Christmas that if baby Jesus could live with 3 gifts, on his first Christmas, that they could get 3 gifts.
But one of those was gold, so.
Well, yeah, I don't give them gold.
If we could give them
sometimes, they get something to wear, something to read,
Sure.
and something to play with. So the play with piece has gotten really interesting as they've gotten into their 20s. But so the shopping part is just figuring out, if I'm limited to those 3 gifts, what exactly I want them to have. That's part of my challenge. Is I want to make sure that they're memorable and they're what they want without asking them what they want.
Yeah.
So it's been fun. And as they've expanded, and we have a son-in-law and a boyfriend of another daughter, it's fun to buy gifts in that same pattern. And then the grandbabies are a whole different story. But
Yeah.
I think I've got most of it, the shopping done, but it's finishing the tree and
wrapping
doing the
and the
baking
decorating.
and the wrapping. And,
Yeah.
we send Christmas cards. And so
It becomes a whole thing.
yeah, but it just, doing every piece of it brings me joy. It's just slowing down and being still enough to get to it.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. Well, I think you should get your daughters gold, frankincense, and myrrh. I think those would be 3 great gifts. They would love that. I don't know if you can get frankincense anymore. I really don't even know what it is, or myrrh.
I think you can, but I'm not sure that they would like the smell of them.
Yeah. No, actually, I did when I spent a couple weeks in Israel, and I think it was frankincense. I got to smell it, and it is pretty
What's
nasty.
very pungent.
Pungent is the
Yeah,
right word.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So do you guys do Christmas up? Is it a big thing for you, or are you guys big
It always
Christmas
has
people?
been. I grew up, and my parents were both high school teachers. So we had, time before Christmas when it was just my brother and I home with our mom and dad getting things ready for Christmas. And it was the one time where we were guaranteed to see our cousins, and, family would come back in out of town. And
Yeah.
so when I was a kid, it was always a magical week or weekend or whenever Christmas was, and we'd all go tobogganing together or whatever it was. And so I tried to continue some of those same traditions, in my own family. And it's morphed and changed as, family structures change and we get more people in the family. But Christmas is a big deal to me because
Yeah.
it is family time.
Right.
And it's that time of year when, I know people feel pressure and it makes some people sad, and that's sad to me.
Yeah.
But for me, it's always been a time of joy and family and giving.
Yeah.
And to be able to see a community like ours give back to each other, because we see it all the time, adopting families and that sort of thing. I mean, to me, it's just a wonderful season of giving.
Yeah.
And I love being able to, maintain and create new traditions with my own
Yeah.
immediate family. That's fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have always done a big Christmas tradition. My grandmother, who's not with us anymore, she was such a big Christmas person. I mean, we would go to her house on Christmas Day in the evening, and I think the last Christmas when she was with us, we had like 70 people in her house because she had 6 kids, and
Oh
they
my
all had
gosh.
kids and then grandkids and
Right,
great-grandkids.
right.
And she managed on her little fixed income every year to buy at least one thing for every single person. And she was so happy to just give those gifts. So to us, it was always just such a good memory.
Oh, sure.
The food, the family,
Right.
the presents, just the time together, the games, the music, singing together. It was just always a lot of fun. So we always try to do it up big. And now we are trying to create our own traditions. We had, like I said, 6 of our own. So, but are you more of so my wife and I were talking about this because I mentioned earlier we don't buy for each other.
Right.
I actually don't like getting gifts on Christmas. I love to give gifts. I love watching people open gifts, but I am the worst. Like if someone gave me a gift that I absolutely loved, I don't know how to react. I don't ever know how to and I feel like I'm not giving it enough gratitude or appreciation.
Sure.
So like the awkwardness of opening a gift, I'd rather just show up and be able to hand out gifts like Santa instead of getting gifts. Are you more of a receiving gifts or a giving gifts type person?
Well, I love to give gifts more than I receive them, but I love watching the expression on my husband's face or on
Yeah.
our daughter's faces, or even my dad's face as I open a gift and they think it's the perfect gift for me.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to say thank you sometimes in a meaningful way, but I mean, I like both, but I'd rather give than receive, but I love that somebody has thought about me
Yeah.
and picked out what they think is the perfect gift. And whether it's the perfect thing I would have bought for myself is irrelevant because
Right.
at that moment it becomes the perfect thing.
Yeah, I like the thoughtful gift
Yes.
more. To me, something that somebody thought of. I saw this and I thought of you. That's really cool. I always appreciate it, especially when it comes from my kids.
Oh, of course.
They think of it. My youngest ones at our church, our kids have this thing called Patch the Pirate Club, and they do it on Wednesday nights, and they can earn. They call them patch bucks throughout the year for doing their books or they're doing their
Right.
little verses or whatever.
Right.
They can earn them, and then right before Christmas, a bunch of people from the church donate a bunch of really nice stuff, and the kids go through the patch store with their patch
that's
bucks,
a
and
really
they can
cool
get gifts
idea.
for their parents.
Yeah.
So every year, my kids who don't obviously have money and they're in elementary school, they're able to buy us all something, and then they help them wrap it, and it's really cool. So it's always interesting. A lot of ties get donated, so I've gotten some pretty interesting ties over
You don't
the
even
years.
wear ties, do you?
Not anymore. I used to wear a tie every single day, but I avoid ties at all possible anymore. But yeah, I mean, just to see what they thought of as they walk
Sure.
through the patch through the thing that they thought of, what they gave to me. I always enjoy that part
Yeah.
of it. So I like the little trinket gifts.
Yeah, I do too. Well, and now that we've got 2 grandsons, the homemade gifts are the best.
Yeah.
And they're not old enough to make them themselves, but we've gotten some great things with handprints and, their little feet prints. I just pulled out the Christmas plate that has their handprint and footprint decorated like a Christmas tree,
Yeah.
with their names in the year. And that's something I'll cherish forever.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
the
the older-
thoughtful gifts are what are most important.
The older I get, the more sentimental I get about those things, those little those little trinkets.
Absolutely. I agree.
So do you have something that you've asked Santa for this year that you're hoping to see under the tree this year?
You know what? I haven't.
Okay, me
I
neither.
haven't.
Me neither.
I keep thinking about other people, and one of my favorite things to do at Christmas time is the stuffed stockings.
My
And
wife loves that too.
And I just thinking of, the little cool things I want to put in the kids' Christmas stockings. And I don't know, that's a lot more fun than thinking about what I need, but as a grown adult, if I need or want something,
Just go get it. Yeah.
I just go get it,
Right.
or go without, which is fine too. But it's not, I don't even think anybody asked me what I wanted for Christmas this year.
I just asked you.
You did. Yes. So thank you.
So everyone knows.
If I think of something, I will make sure I let you know, because you still have time.
I do. I still have we have 10 days.
10
By
days.
the time this airs, it's going to be like 7 days or 6. So
there you
yeah.
go.
All right. So why don't you, outside of our love for Christmas and what we're looking forward to, just give our audience a little bit of a refresher on who you are, what you're involved with, other than the YMCA, some of the things you're involved
Sure.
with in our community.
So I've been working in the community since 1994, believe it or not.
I believe it.
I started at Baker as an adjunct and was there for 20 some years, and then started at the Y 5 years ago. And through that time, I've been involved with a lot of different organizations. I was chair of Respite Volunteers Board for a while. I ran for them one November as Ice Queen. And so Respite Volunteers is an organization that, is dear to my heart. I've been involved with American Red Cross for a long time. I'm currently on the Chamber Board of Directors, which has been, a great experience. We just celebrated 120 years of the
Amazing.
Chamber being here.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? And so, but in addition to that, I think the thing that impacts the work that I do and what I'm most passionate about is to be part of the nonprofit capacity building program that's funded by the Cook Family Foundation and partner with Nonprofit Network out of Jackson. And they have some fabulous nonprofit consultants. And we meet pretty regularly. The nonprofit capacity building group meets once a month. We were meeting regularly face-to-face, and now we do Zoom, hopefully returning to face-to-face. But it's great to be involved with an organization like that helps me kind of check my understanding of what's going on in the community.
Yeah.
So all the other nonprofit executive directors or presidents, a lot of them are part of that group. It's mostly the group that just did Raise Up Shiawassee for giving, as
Yep.
the part of the Raise Up Shiawassee group, which
We
really
just
is
had Emily on the podcast.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes. Yeah. I watched that one.
Did you?
Yeah. And it was a great podcast, but again, she's a fabulous human being.
She's awesome. Yeah.
So that really is what I think helps keep me focused and energized to do a lot of the work that I do at the Y. I know a lot of people, decades ago, the Y was really only known as a fitness center and a place for youth programming. But since COVID, we still feed people. We're still part of a lot of other support programs and connected to a lot of other agencies, kind of as a community hub. So that we, our front desk has resources available if somebody comes in and has a question about this issue or that need. And so we're really excited to be able to be connected that way. But that's part of what I love the most about my job.
Yeah.
Is that if there's a need in the community, the YMCA might not be able to be the community organization to address it, but we can be part of the conversation and then at least share resources as they become available.
Yeah, and I think that's extremely important, no matter what you're doing, that you're finding an outlet to either give back or do something that has a bigger purpose than just your own success or your own wealth or your own, little spot on this planet. Having a bigger passion or something that you're trying to fulfill that reaches beyond you,
Absolutely.
I think is so much more fulfilling. And I think people, until they realize that and understand that they're missing out on a whole segment of joy and life and gratitude that you really don't experience. And so, I'm a very driven person and I love what I do in my business, but like my happiness is not attached to AZ Business Solutions, what we're able to do for our community. I get the greatest joy from meeting with a new startup that has an idea and comes to us and needs help, coming up with a logo and a website and helping them get their business off the ground
Sure.
and seeing them succeed and being
Right.
a part of that. Like that's the part of what we do that I enjoy the most. And so I think that no matter what you're doing in life, you got to find, like I said, a bigger purpose beyond
Right.
just serving yourself,
Right.
or else it will be empty.
Well, and I think the other organization that, I'm actually president of it right now, is the Wausau Rotary Club. And the motto is literally for Rotary is service above self. And I have watched for years now. Actually, I always used to be envious when I worked at Baker because I think we had 2 or 3 Rotarians always, but I was never one of them. And I always thought that's such a cool group. I would love to be a part of it. And then when I started
you're
at
the
the
president.
Y, yeah.
It's a boss move.
Strange how things like that happen. But it's a wonderful group of people from very diverse backgrounds, very diverse interests, very diverse passions. But we come together around service projects or fundraising to help the community. And I think that service above self model is something that I think I've always lived, but I never knew. I couldn't articulate it that way. And so life is much more fulfilling when you can give back. And I'm just grateful, as we end 2022, that I'm connected to organizations that have that philosophy, but also that's my life work right now.
Yeah.
To be able to help guide an organization to be that kind of organization.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate everything that you're involved in, everything you're
Thanks.
doing, and your involvement with the chamber is always a big, big for us and a help to us as a business. So we appreciate those things. And so going back to the why, I know we're going into a new year. We talked
Yes.
about, people hit the New Year's and they start to think, all right, I need to get involved in something that's going to improve my health and fitness. That's one of the number one, I think it is the number one New Year's resolution.
Absolutely. You are
So-
correct.
So what are some things that you would want the community to know about the why right now, what you guys have going on? What are some
Sure.
things available to people that they should be looking forward to in the coming new year?
Well, one of the things I'm excited about is that we are opening up camp to our members for open trails days, which means you can go out there. If there's snow, you could snowshoe. People need to register ahead of time, but available now, starting right after Christmas on Friday, December 30th, members can sign up to go walk the trails or run the trails or whatever they want out at camp. We just need to know, and that's right now, it's just for members. So I'm really excited about that. And if people are actually utilizing camp, you've been out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's just, 180 some acres of
amazing.
gorgeous, natural land right along the river. We have 6 miles of, it always amazes me, 6 miles of shoreline because we own on both sides of the river.
Shiawassee,
And- yeah, and so it's an amazing location. So I'm excited to be able to offer that. But the biggest thing that'll change in January of 23 is we're going to be able to offer silver sneakers. And so for our older population, and people just need to know what kind of Medicare that they have. And so Medicare Advantage, and they can contact, they can check out their own account and see. But basically what that offers is a free membership, which includes access to the fitness facility or fitness center, free group exercise classes. They would have access to certified personal trainers, which again is an additional cost, but they can do the free assessment, have somebody actually develop a workout plan for them. So we're really, really excited to be able to offer that for the first time. We have a silver sneaker certified instructor who will be doing, some of the low impact group exercise classes, chair yoga, gentle yoga, that sort of thing. So we're really excited to be able to offer that.
How does someone determine if they qualify for that?
There's a 1-800 number that people can call, but they can also just stop in and they can pick
Y.
up a flyer from us at the Y.
Okay.
It's on social media, but again, a lot of the older population, isn't on social media like you and I are. And so it's sometimes best just to make the phone call to the Y or to just stop in and they can get the information. So we're really excited to be able to offer that. 1 in
Yeah, that's
4
a big deal.
Medicare participants are eligible really for that free membership.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Very
and
cool.
it's great too. We've noticed, pre-COVID, we used to have people gather in our lobby and they would sit and drink coffee for a couple hours and just chat and catch up. And, it's changed a little bit since, we were closed for 6 months, but the YMCA is still a great place for individuals who are interested in the same thing, being healthier, to come together and work out together or be in group exercise classes together. And, you know, we have a core group of guys, gentlemen, whose paths probably would never have crossed otherwise, who are literally there every morning working out together now.
Cool.
And it's really cool to watch. I walk by the weight room and there they are. And it's kind of, you know, they call themselves their own little crew.
Yeah.
And it's a cool place to
squad.
come and feel and be part of something bigger than you.
Yeah.
You know, so we're really excited about that as well. And our other programs will continue. You know, we're just finishing up youth basketball right now. Youth volleyball is coming up again. Judo continues. We've got gymnastics. We've got some more for our littles. We have a class that's called Zumbini. You've heard of Zumba?
I have.
Yes, so Zumbini is really for infants, toddlers, and a parent. And so the
Really?
duo does this class, and it filled up within hours. And so we are offering that again. We'll actually do itty bitty. I think you probably know we do itty bitty soccer for 2 and 3 year olds. We're actually going to be doing itty bitty basketball for 3 and 4 year olds in February.
What size hoop are you going to use for that?
Yeah, the littlest one.
Yeah, I'd say that's going to be fun to watch.
Well, you know, the YMCA, I mean, it's a great opportunity for kids to learn basics, but more importantly, learn what it means to be on a team.
Yes.
What it means to be coachable and sportsmanship.
Yeah.
And so we're really lucky. We've got some great volunteer coaches. You know, you've coached.
Yeah.
And it's just a great opportunity. So a lot of that continues. We're also, for the first time, offering open gym for homeschool groups.
Oh.
Yeah. And so it's just, you know, again, just trying to find those needs in the community.
Connection points.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really excited about some of that. 2 weeks ago, we graduated our first Live Strong group.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember, Live Strong is the
Lance
name
Armstrong,
of Lance
yeah.
Armstrong's foundation. And YUSA has had a partnership for almost 3 decades with that foundation. And Live Strong is a program for cancer patients and survivors. And so the instructor goes through a certification process just to make sure that they understand, you know, the program. And that they're qualified to actually help instruct people who have health concerns. And so for 12 weeks, they meet twice a week for an hour and a half. We partnered with MSU Extension for the nutrition piece. So we were grateful that our MSU Extension partner came in, I think 5 or 6 times. But the group, again, becomes that community within a community and, you know, trying to find a way back into what you and I would call a more healthy situation. And the ladies that we had were so grateful and we're for the experience because it's a free 12-week membership. And now when we see them in the Y, we all know them and they know us. And so really just trying to support them through that journey back to health. And I'm just really grateful that we were able to offer it, and we'll offer it again in March.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're excited about. So
Well, lots going on.
Absolutely.
If you're watching, make sure you get involved. I know the Y. I've been going to the Y since I was a very little kid. Some of my fondest memories of basketball happened at the Y. Now all my kids are always going down there calling, when's open gym? When's open gym? My
Right.
kids are down there playing. So we love having it in our community. We appreciate all the things you guys are doing. I also thought it was cool seeing you guys are doing the junior NBA
Yes.
for the basketball. So the kids get to wear like the little NBA jerseys.
They
and
do. And
That's
it's
pretty
just-
cool touch.
It
yeah.
is really cool. And if you haven't seen any of the pictures on social media, I mean,
have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do. It's a cool experience. So
Well, you remember like before when I had littles myself. I mean, I think at one season I coached 4 teams myself.
You did. That was right
'cause
when I was starting at
I had
the Y.
all different kids of like I had a 3rd grader, a 5th grader, a 7th grader, an 8th grader. So I'm like, well, I got to coach them all.
yeah.
But what was cool about that? I mean, I love coaching. I find like I've had a lot of leadership roles in my life, but coaching, it's like you have this built-in motivator of playing time,
Yes.
which every kid wants. And so
Yes.
they'll listen and they learn.
Yes.
And I always tell the coaches at our school, if you get through a whole season and all you taught the kids was, you know, how to shoot the ball or how to pass or how to kick a ball or whatever, you really miss an opportunity because there's so many life lessons in sports.
Absolutely.
But I remember those days coaching those little kids, and now like half of those guys are on my varsity team at school. And so a lot of the things we worked on when we were little, they now just know, and it's part of our, you know, our culture. And so those are good. So if you get a chance to coach, it will try your patience and your
Well, of
and your
course.
faith. But if you get a chance to coach, I think you should do it. You'll enjoy it and use it as an opportunity to mentor these young ones. It's always a good thing.
And we're really lucky because we have a great group of volunteers, soccer coaches and basketball coaches and, our judo instructors. I mean, we just have a great group of adult volunteers who really want to give back to their community. And the great thing is as you're aware, as a YMCA, we offer financial assistance. And so we are the go-to place for a lot of families who couldn't afford to play sports otherwise.
Right.
And so to be that equalizing organization, I mean, that's really important to us in our mission, to make sure that all kids who want to play soccer, for instance, can. This past fall, Owasso Rotary started a sponsor a player program, and other people participated as well. But basically, they would pay the cost of registration and additional funds per player. But the kids would get brand new cleats, socks, shin guards, and a brand new ball, and not have to pay for any of it.
Wow.
And so for some 6-7-year-old, can you imagine?
Yeah,
not only do you get
huge.
to play soccer, but you get your own equipment.
Yeah.
Not hand me down, not secondhand,
new.
but you get your own brand new equipment. And so, but that's who the YMCA is, and that's people who donate to us know that that's what we use the resources for.
Yeah, and something like that can change a kid's whole perspective on sports or athletics. I mean, I remember, we grew up, my parents didn't have a lot, very blue collar. And, I remember one year asking my dad, they had the Reebok pumps that came out, the basketball shoes, and
Right.
they're like $110.
Were you literally pumped the
Yeah,
tongue?
you pumped
Yeah,
the tongue.
yeah, I remember.
So, my dad had this philosophy that, shoes should never cost more than $40. So, and to him, that was like high end. So they
Right.
went and found some Spalding pumps at Payless. And that's what they brought me. And I got them. And I'm just like looking at all the other kids that had like the nicer shoes. And I just remember kind of feeling, as a kid, you're not trying to be ungrateful, but you look at what the other kids have. But I remember the first time I got some really nice, what I thought was really nice equipment. And it was basketball, because I played a lot of different sports, but I remember getting a really nice pair of shoes and a basketball of my own. And that changed. Like, I just began to love that game. And so a kid experiencing that can really change their whole outlook
Oh,
on something.
absolutely.
So that's really, really cool.
Well, and we had more kids play soccer in 2022 than we have, in the recent past. And it's a great opportunity, like with all the other youth sports as well, for kids to be part of something.
Yes.
And
To be active.
To be active. If you look at our focus areas, healthy living, youth development, and social responsibility, providing quality youth sports hits on all of them.
Yeah.
And so really, we're really grateful that we have the volunteers. But the key to all that success is our senior program director, Jen, who you know.
Yep, Jen. She's
Yeah,
awesome.
and she throws her heart into it. And it's just everything that she does is high quality. And she's got just some great volunteers. She's got a great partner in crime now. Tara Hermes works for us as well. And she has been, a huge asset. So all the success that we see in that really goes back to, Jen and her vision and her planning with support. But you've been connected to the Y long
Yep.
enough that the other thing I have to say, I'd be remiss if I didn't, is that we have an amazing staff.
Mm-hmm. You do.
They all
You do.
care about our members and the experiences that we're building for people. So that and, the board support, it's just been a great opportunity to help lead that. And it's fun to watch my vision become, other people get on board with
Yep.
that. And so it's been an interesting year and a half, 2 years really since we reopened, but it's been good. So, but lots more to
But
come.
you got through it.
We did.
You got
Lots
through it.
more to come.
Yeah, well, looking forward to that. And you do have a great staff. And shout out to Jen. Jen, you do a great job
Yeah.
what we do. I know there's a lot of work involved with running any type of league, especially youth leagues, and keeping the parents informed and the coaches all together. So good job. And I think, from my perspective, you guys are doing an awesome job down there.
Thanks.
Keep up the good work. And I think you should take part in it. If you have kids, even if you don't, get involved. There's lots of things for everybody. So be involved with that. So with all of our guests, we send a little questionnaire to kind of get to know the person
Sure.
behind the mic or the person behind the desk. A lot of times people kind of see us in the community and they kind of know who we are, but they don't know really who we are, right?
Right.
And so I like to give everyone the opportunity to kind of dig in a little bit to some of the fun things in their life. And so we sent you this questionnaire. You were quick to respond. So I was glad to see that. Sometimes people are like, I don't know the answer to these questions, but
Well,
they're all about you. So
Well, and I think I noted that in some of the answers, that some of them were answers that my husband helped me come up with, because
that's typical. People say my spouse had to help me with this.
Yeah, it's a whole lot easier to get somebody who knows you really well, get their opinion. So.
Well, let's dig right into it.
Okay.
So the question we asked first is the favorite place you've ever been. You give a very detailed answer. You said in Switzerland.
Yeah.
We went on a riverboat tour on Lake Thun. Is that how you say it? Thun.
Yes.
Okay. To Interlaken in the shadow of a cool mountain called the Nissen or the Swiss Pyramid. So
Yes.
very vivid. You painted it. I can kind of see it. So tell us about it.
Well, we were honeymooning. We'd spent the first 10 days in London, and then we were spending the next 10 days in Switzerland.
Sounds amazing.
It was. As somebody who got married again at 50, it was, kind of the trip of a lifetime.
Yeah.
But my husband had been stationed in Bern, Switzerland as an embassy guard when he was in the Marines in the mid 80s. And he hadn't been back. And so we were actually, visiting an old friend of his. And we went to the Nissen one day. And so we're standing, as we're taking this cable car, in the picturesque, it's not the Alps, but, it's what I would picture as a Swiss mountain. We're taking this cable car up to the top, and I just keep watching it, and it looks exactly like a pyramid. I'll have to show you a picture sometime.
Definitely.
And as we get up to the top, you walk all around, and you're up in the clouds, and there's snow. This is September, but I'm all bundled up with my hat and my gloves, and I look over, and here's this beautiful lake. And our friend, shared with us while we were up there that for our wedding gift, he had purchased us a riverboat cruise for the next day on that river.
Wow.
So, you could see Lake Interlaken, and then you could see this river. And so the next day we went to Thun and took the riverboat down, and again, it was exactly what I pictured small Swiss communities to look like up in the mountains, and then spent, time in Thun touring the historic spots, and time then in Interlaken touring the historic spots. We got to see a castle and watch people skydiving, maybe or hang gliding. That's what it was, off the edge of the mountain. And they would land in this huge open field. And we sat there eating an ice cream cone in the, late in the afternoon before we had to head back, watching dozens and dozens of people just hang gliding off the mountain. And some of them had guides, some of them didn't. And it was, I don't know. I keep using the word magical in my world, but it was like one of those magical days. And
it sounds like it.
It was just really, really cool.
I hope my wife's not listening, because our honeymoon was nothing like
high
that.
expectations.
Yeah, we're getting ready to celebrate. Well, we just celebrated 20 years this year, but I told her we got a nice trip coming, so I would love to do something like that. To talk to you about that. I've always wanted to go to Europe. I've traveled abroad quite a bit, but never spent much time in Europe. But that sounds absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it was cool.
So speaking of snow, one of the random facts about you said, is that you love snow, but you hate the cold.
Accurate.
And I can totally relate, but I only love snow on one day.
Oh,
Christmas Day.
No.
Christmas Day has to have snow. We could get rid of the snow. I love to look at it, but I don't like to shovel it. I don't like to trudge through it. And it comes with cold, so it's kind of a mixed bag,
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's the last part of the Youper in me.
Yeah.
I just have, again, such great memories of being a kid when we would get, the snowbanks were taller than me, and we'd build forts, and we'd go sledding and ice skating. Oh, I never played King in the Mountain. I was a wimp as a kid. No, my brother knows that. If we would wrestle, the wrestling would end when Laura would start crying. Yeah. So, but I love snow. And I guess as a Youper, I also have the right boots and the right coat and the right hat and gloves that I can put up with the cold. But, like today it's gray and dreary. Yeah. I would rather have snow. If it's going to be cold and I'm going to be bundled up anyway, let me put my snow boots on and enjoy the pretty fluffy stuff.
I can meet in the middle there. If it's going to be cold already, it does look better when there's snow. This gray time of the year is always the worst. But I am probably what you would call indoorsy. I don't love being outside when it's cold.
Well,
I'm not a big snowmobiler, sledder, tobogganing you mentioned earlier. Like, not really my thing. I'm like, let's get in by the fire. Let's watch a movie. Let's have some hot cocoa.
Well, but that's
kind of my thing.
That's the balance,
Yes.
We had a fire in my parents' fireplace almost every day in the wintertime when I was a kid. And so again, I don't know. I don't consider myself a romantic, but maybe I am. And that's just the vision I have of how winter should be.
Yeah. The winter wonderland.
Yes, exactly.
So now we're going to go to a warm desert island. We'll skip the cold. You're stranded. You get one CD or it says one CD.
That was not hard to pick.
And you chose Purple Rain by Prince. Interesting. The Whole Life, that's the one.
That's the one. Well,
It's got a good vibe to it.
I just, again, I think I wore out. I first had it on cassette tape before CDs were a thing.
I have cassette tapes.
And I wore it out. But it was the one I would listen to, again, aging myself, in my Walkman when I would, like, go for a jog.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know it intimately. And I had to think about what would I not get tired of listening to? And that was the one that came to mind.
You can listen to it all day, every day.
I mean, I have other favorites too, but I'm not sure I'm always in the mood for something
but
that's
you only got one. Pick one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's got mellow stuff and other stuff that I know would energize me. And a lot of the other music I listen to is all high energy.
Yeah, me too.
Or I'm listening to classical, which I couldn't listen to all the time.
Yeah.
So it's one or the other.
It's a good choice.
Yeah.
I like it.
So it was kind of the middle of the road, the one that, because again, I took the forever part seriously.
Yes.
That I would have to listen to it forever.
It won't drive you too crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, isn't it funny that we used to, like, go for a jog with this giant cassette tape
know.
player on our hip, and we just thought we were so
How do
cool
we not
and-
end up with huge bruises on our hips?
How did it not fall
Right,
off? Yeah,
right.
Pretty crazy. Okay, so totally irrational fear. You said, this is funny, I get freaked out by alligators and vomit. Now, you're a Youper, so you never even saw an alligator
Right.
growing up. But not the combination, but just that they might kill me.
If it was a combination, it would kill me.
Yeah. So if an alligator was vomiting in front of you, that would be like
I would be over.
life over.
And I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Well, alligators. I mean, if you're kayaking on this cool little river in Florida, which is really where I've seen them, and they all start to slide into the water.
Yeah.
They're coming to get you.
Yeah.
So
Not a fan.
No, not a fan.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate them. I had fun counting them when we drove down Alligator Alley with my daughters.
Yeah.
But no,
Don't want to
thank
be
you.
near them.
No.
Yeah.
No.
All right. Favorite movie or TV show? You said the BBC's 1995 production of Pride and Prejudice is a good one. Who doesn't love Colin Firth as Dr. Marcy or Mr. Darcy?
Right.
Dr. Marcy, Mr. Darcy. So tell us what you love about that movie.
Well, I think, I was a lit major, an English major when I was in college, and I was raised by an English teacher, so I loved classic literature. And so reading, I don't remember how old I was when I started reading Jane Austen, who's the author of Pride and Prejudice, but I just love the tension between two people who are going to end up together and kind of how they find that, but all the other characters and, little mini stories along the way. And in the end, love wins out. And I just, again, I guess I have to admit I'm more of a romantic than I naturally think I am. I know.
It's all coming out.
That's all right. It's not
She's
a bad,
a romantic.
Not a bad thing
We
to be.
change as we get older, right?
Right. But the other thing is the summer that it was released on PBS, I had mono. And I was stuck at my parents' house with a newborn. And we watched it each evening when it was, because, it was played in segments,
Yeah.
Episodes, I guess is the right word. And I kid you not, I looked forward to it all day long. And so I always liked it, but then that secured it. It was kind of like my thing.
That secured it. Well, what's better, the book or the movie?
99% of the time I would say the book, but
Really?
in that situation, I'm not sure I could pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've always been I like to read. And I don't ever read storybooks. I will read like inspirational books. I'll read
Like you would
self-help
never
books.
pick up a novel that was a story?
No, I can't get into it. My mind is not that, like, I can't, I guess maybe my imagination's not that great. I get bored. I love reading books that I learn things from.
Sure.
Or, how to be a better business owner, or how to connect with people, or these types of books. But, and I'm more of an audiobook guy now that's kind of a thing.
Isn't that amazing?
I love audiobooks.
I agree with you.
But I've heard people say like, oh, the book was so much better than the movie. I'm like, how is that possible? The book didn't have, a soundtrack, and the book didn't have actors, and the book didn't have visually appealing things. So I've always been like, even if it's a great book, I always like the movie. But I know sometimes the movie doesn't do the book justice.
Well, but you're not reading books that are made into movies either.
Yeah. That is
So-
true. That is true. So maybe if I actually sat down and read the whole book, I would think it was better. But
Or read the book after you watch a movie and see what's missing in the movie or changed from the movie.
yeah,
Because, I mean, the books are always first, right?
yeah.
And so,
Yeah, I was just talking to Carl Mankey about this. I got my hair cut, and he was talking about one of his books got made into a movie last year.
oh, right, yeah.
And I was asking him, like, because the book's like 300 pages, he said, but the movie's like an hour and 40 minutes. So I'm like, so did they take out the parts you would have wanted them to take out? And he's like, no, they took out all the things I would have liked them to keep in, because he kind of let them adapt it to a
Right.
screenplay. But
Right.
that would be a challenge as an author to, sell the rights to your story and see it kind of get picked apart and let somebody kind of have their own interpretation of it. But okay, so one last meal. You said,
Again, probably really specific.
yeah, very specific. Blue cheese and crusted filet. It's off to a great start with roasted asparagus. Excellent. Mixed green salad and almond cupcakes for dessert. Who made the almond cupcakes?
Cupcakes and kisses.
Okay. Oh, yeah, those are
Yeah.
very, very good. Yes. Okay. I can get on board with that whole meal. That's very, very good. I don't see anything on that thing that I would not also want to eat myself there. So good choice. I know what we're having for dinner when I come over to
Okay.
your house. Number 7, if you could have any job in the world, what would it be? Professional consultant working with individuals or groups focusing on communication skills, which we're going to talk about, leadership development, and organizational change. That's kind of like what you have now.
It is. It is.
Yeah, you get to do a lot of those things.
I do. The one piece I miss most about my previous career, however, is the teaching piece, the mentoring piece.
Yeah.
I fought it for years. I changed my major probably 7 times before I landed as an education major in my undergrad. And I do get to mentor a lot, which is great, but to go in and work with an individual or a group of people who are just really ripe and ready to make changes either within themselves or within their organization, I mean, that's a whole different kind of energy to me.
Absolutely. Okay, so I like this one here. Who would play you in Hollywood?
I had no idea.
Your husband says Sandra Bullock, just in The Blind Side.
Yes,
Sandra
in
Bullock
The
from
Blind Side.
She was sassy in that movie.
Sassy and just tenacious
Tenacious,
in
yeah.
sticking up for Michael, the character that she,
I can
befriended
see
and
it.
adopted.
I can see it.
So it was that tenaciousness that he said made him think of that.
Yeah, it's a good choice. Good job, husband. Okay, proudest moment or achievement. You said your 2 daughters.
Yes.
They're amazing human beings and 2 of my favorite people.
They are.
Talk about your daughters for a second.
So my younger daughter is married and has our 2 little grandsons. And Bernie, Ivan, and Leo are just my world, basically. And I've watched her grow, well, obviously her entire life. But at the age of 2, I knew that she was destined to be an amazing mama just by how she played with her dolls. You just get those gut feelings sometimes as a parent. And it's just, I couldn't be prouder of the woman that she's grown to be. She's strong, but yet so tender. And she is so hardworking, but fun-loving at the same time. And when I watch her with her little boys, I can't imagine that this is my child.
Yeah.
As perfect as she seems, especially in that role. And so I'm just super proud of the woman that she's become.
Yeah.
And my older daughter, got a degree in criminal justice and then went to MSU Law, and she works here in the county in the prosecutor's office. And I remember when she was in elementary school, she said, "Mom, I want to be a lawyer." And I thought, okay, what do you say when a 4th or 5th grader says that to you?
It'll change.
But again, she's had that focus, and she went to law school to be a prosecutor here in the county. And, at her age, at 27, she's got her dream job and she loves it. And again, the pride comes from not that outcome, but everything I know she sacrificed and endured and the hard work that she's put in to get there. One of those moments where you set this goal and then you do anything and everything you need to do. You accept support, you keep your focus and you just work your tail off. And that's what she did. And it's just so wonderful as a parent to watch your child find that kind of success. And it is
Absolutely.
professional, but to her it's also personal.
Sure.
You know, I'm proud to say they both have my heart for giving back, and they do it in very different ways. But you know, putting bad guys away is a pretty clear
For sure.
way to do it. So,
Yeah.
but I'm proud of the women that they've become.
Yeah, I don't know that, there's too many things on this earth that are more fulfilling than seeing your kids do well, seeing them succeed at something, seeing them work hard towards something and achieving that, and seeing them just become good humans.
Absolutely.
I think that parents should realize that probably the number one thing that you can do, let me say it this way, what you're doing with these children, you're not just babysitting them, you're not just trying to get through 18 years, you're literally developing humans.
Right.
Like, so make them good humans, and,
Right.
and realize in their life, like, you just have them for this short time. And
It's
so
true.
make the most of it so that when they are out on their own, they're able to make good decisions, that they're able to understand compassion, that they're able to have good relationships, that they're able to be good parents, and all of these things. And a lot of times parents, we abdicate that responsibility and we live kind of our own thing outside of the focus of what we're trying to do with these kids. And so much of who we are as an adult is shaped by who our parents were,
Right.
or who our mentors were,
Right.
or who the people that stepped in our lives or the people that didn't step in our lives. And so what a responsibility. And so I've always viewed, parenting as, I'm not just trying to get them through, but I'm trying to help them become good adults, good citizens, good humans.
Well, and I think that's one of the times in my life that, I was pretty reflective, as I was raising them, and I became a single mom when they were both in middle school. And it was okay, but I realized that I was relying on what I had seen my parents do, how I saw them parent. And again, hindsight's always 20/20, obviously, but thinking
Right.
back to my own childhood and the experiences that they created and even the boundaries that they set, and it really was a great guide. And so I look at, everybody says it takes a village, and I look at my own immediate family, and it did.
Right.
It wasn't just me, but watching them grow into the adults I knew that they could be or wanted to be. Again, it's just really fulfilling. But going back to what I do now at the Y, creating opportunities for kids who may not have that exact experience at home or who want more, just to create some of those opportunities is wonderful, because kids can't have too much mentoring or too much support or too much engagement with people who have the kids' interest,
Right.
in mind. So,
Well, I've been trying to be more involved in city council the last 6 months and just being a part of that process. I never had been to a city council meeting before. So, I talked to Nick Pidek about that, and Gordon Pennington is a guy that's always said, it's important to be involved in these things. So I just determined I'm going
Right.
to try to, get a little more active on at least what's going on. I've gone to a couple meetings. My oldest son at home, he's actually my second son, but he's the oldest one at home now. He asked if he could go with me. And I was like, sure, yeah, come sit down. And there was time for public comment, and he decided, like, I'm sitting there just listening, and he decided to stand up and go get up and say something. And just listening to him talk from his heart. Not that he even necessarily articulated everything exactly right. He's 17 years old. Not that he even said everything the way I would have said it, but to hear him feel like this is something that I feel like I need to say in the right spirit and stand up in front of all those people and speak up, and the bravery of that, and the gratitude in his heart, it really touched me. And just to see, like, sometimes you say things to your kids and you're like, I don't think they're even listening. These kids are not getting it.
They are.
But then you see them do something like that, and you hear your voice coming out of them, and you're like, they're listening, they're getting it. You have other parents come tell you, like, hey, your kid did this for my son or my daughter, didn't have their lunch today, and they shared their lunch with them. Just you hear those things, and you're like, those are the moments where you're just like, okay, stay the course. Sometimes it's difficult being a parent.
Sure.
And like reiterating, and sometimes being the bad guy, it feels like all you ever get to be. And your kids even take the good things you're trying to do for them as the bad guy. And it can be tiring and exhausting. But in those moments where you realize, man, these kids are getting it, and they're going to become good people, good
and
humans.
isn't that the ultimate goal
Yes.
of parenting, is to raise people to be good members of society and to be
Yeah.
happy?
Yeah. Yep. I heard a sermon one time. A guy preached. This guy had 12 kids.
Oh my goodness.
It's a lot. And he preached this sermon called "Getting to Where You'll Never Go," and he talked about this verse in the Bible that says, "Blessed is the man," or he said that children are like arrows in the hands of a mighty man. Blessed is the man that has his quiver full of them. And it talked about the purpose of an arrow, shooting it out, and how he said you have all these kids. And they can do all these things in life that you could never do yourself. But if you train them up to be good people, your daughter's in law enforcement, and that's something that you can't do yourself.
Right.
But you have this child that you raised and produced, and now they're impacting this whole other segment of society,
Right.
largely in part because of the things that you did for her. And so seeing that the ideas that giving these kids the help and the vision to become good people and go out and do great things that you could never do. It's really how you leave an impact on the world.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing is one wish besides unlimited wishes. What would you wish for? This kind of goes along with what we're talking about now. It says, wish that everybody could feel a sense of belonging as a part of a community who cares about and accepts each other. That could be pretty simple, right? Just...
It can be, but it isn't.
It doesn't seem to be today.
No,
in the world we
agree.
live in today, it seems like, there's so much divisiveness.
Absolutely.
I remember a time not so long ago, I would say before Donald Trump, that, not to get political, but where people could disagree on a topic and it was okay. I saw a post come up on my social media, like a time hop thing
Yes.
from like 2014 or so. And I made some statement that it was something political. I don't remember exactly what it was about. I try not to get too political on my social media because you can't have tone or text or
Right,
anything.
right.
It's always misconstrued what you're trying to say. But underneath in the comments was a lot of back and forth. There was people that agreed with what I said. There was people that disagreed with what I said. But it was such like friendly dialogue in the comments. Like nobody was hating on each other. Like people realized that's his opinion. This is my opinion. And there was like this, it was okay that we just disagreed and there wasn't like this animosity. Like it's
Right.
okay that you have that opinion. Did you ever think about it like this? And, I think, several things have contributed maybe to that. Social media being one of those
Sure.
things. But I think people trying to get a point across with words on a screen as opposed to looking somebody in the eye and trying
Right.
to express their heart, I think has forced people to take things out of context. I mentioned President Trump. I think that he, was a very divisive individual, in my opinion. And the way he carried himself created a lot of hot, and when I say hot, I mean temperature. It created anything that people would disagree on. It made it very, very hot. And so people decided now I got to choose a side. I got to pick a side. And then it just became like this thing. I don't know what it is. And so I feel like we've just lost that ability to disagree and still have good communication.
I think you're right. And I think that to have a healthy community, it's just like a healthy relationship or a healthy organization. You have to see that we're all in this together. We need to support each other. We need to understand each other. And I think that the ability to have a conversation with somebody who may be not aligned with you philosophically, especially politically. I like to talk to people who don't think just like me because I
too.
learn.
Yes.
And it helps me if I have to explain to you why I feel this way on issue A, then you're questioning me makes me make sure that my opinion is sound.
Right. That's a good way
that
to,
I
yeah.
know what I'm talking about. And I think that has gone out the window.
Yeah.
I think the picking sides piece has created this schism in our community, in our society.
In our country, yeah.
Yeah, that has put us in a really unique time. And I think that it's especially important as kids spend most of their time elementary, middle school, high school, even into college, spend so much of their time on a screen and not as much having dialogue or conversations face to face, that we get back to some of those basics about how do you communicate effectively with other people.
Right.
And I think that until we can find a way to help kids learn and adults remember what it's like to have a conversation where I'm not out to prove you wrong.
Right.
And you're not just hearing because you're already formulating what you're thinking, but instead you're really listening so that you can ask me questions and we have a true dialogue. I think that it's the whole, not setting out to prove that I'm right, is a big part of it.
Well, yeah, listening to learn, not listening to respond.
Correct. Well, and that's a communication basic.
Yeah. I think we all want to be heard. People say, I want to be heard. I want to be heard. And I think that's important. I think we need to surround ourselves with people that are willing to listen.
Yes.
Some people don't want to listen. And so sometimes you're knocking on the wrong door. Right? There are just people that just don't want to listen. I think it's important to try to extend that olive branch and try to have that conversation. There's some people that don't want to listen. But I think everybody wants to be heard. But I think the best way to be heard is, like you alluded to earlier, is by listening well. Because you can have a topic or an issue or a philosophy or whatever and be adamant about something and have never even considered a thought about that issue that somebody might present to you. And at least, whether you agree or not, you can then employ empathy. You're like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Now I understand why they might think that,
right,
or why they might believe that. And so now I don't hate that person because, they don't think like me, so they're my enemy.
Right.
It's okay, we disagree. If I want them to see things my way, I have to be able to address them from a point of understanding of where they're at, what their life experience was that brought them to that point, and get them to the point where they can hear my point of view and why I think this way and what my philosophy is. And again, it may never result in the two people changing their minds, but it will result in a mutual respect.
Correct.
And a love for one another that leads to a healthy community, that leads to healthy relationships, that leads to a civilization where we not just say, I'm not going to choose enemies, but we actually love and support each other despite our beliefs and disagreements.
Well, and I think, and you and I have had this conversation before, Tony, I think that it's important to know, in the biggest picture, even if I'm having a conversation with somebody who I know doesn't agree with me on this topic, I can respect them enough to agree to disagree. But if push came to shove and I were to ask them, well, what do you want for our community? People aren't going to say, well, I don't want kids to be successful. Right. I don't want kids to have access to this. I want our seniors to be ignored. Nobody's going to say that. And so I think if we can remember that, if we just look beyond ourselves,
there you go,
to the greater community, we can find that common ground. And oh my gosh, can you imagine the strength in a community where community leaders and community volunteers were all in that same field together, right, because we have these shared wishes and hopes for our community. Okay, well, let's put some action to that. How you vote is your private opinion. Yep. What you do in your private time, as long as it's not harming somebody else, is your own choice. But if we can agree to disagree on some of that, yep, and focus instead on what it means to have a healthy community where we look out for each other and we take care of each other, and those who have can help lift up those who may not have as much, right, or have anything. I mean, that's a community, yep, that can raise healthy, well-adjusted, happy kids. Yeah. And that, to me, is our ultimate goal.
Absolutely. I think you've said that extremely well. And I would say, in my experience, and I talk to a lot of people, not just on this podcast, but I am a people person.
You are.
I love talking to people and getting to know them and understand them. And I would say that 99% of people that I have met agree on far more than they disagree on.
Absolutely.
And that's why I go back to saying like the political temperature, between the highest level of our country and the media and the back and forth and just the shots fired, just so like nasty back and forth both ways. It caused people to feel like they had to choose a side or else. And I think I'm a believer in what you believe in. You stand up for it. You don't be ashamed of it. You be proud of it. You speak out when you need to in the right tone, employing empathy, understanding that there's other people that aren't going to understand your point of view. And so try to speak to them. Don't be so focused on being right. Be so focused on, being understood. And so, like you said earlier, listening helps you determine if you even know why you believe it enough. Sometimes we believe things because that's how we were raised, or that's how it is. And and sometimes you got to challenge your own thinking.
Sure,
why
of
do I
course.
think that way? Why do I believe that? Yeah, I can see
But that
this.
doesn't happen if you're not talking to people who don't agree with you.
And so I think,
if you surround yourself with, yes, people is not the right phrase, but if you surround yourself with people who think the way you think.
echo chamber.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And we've just become so volatile.
Yeah.
And it's not about being right. It's about community members caring about each other.
I think it's not about being right, it's about doing right, right?
Absolutely.
Do right and be good to people. And this is one of the things I love about the Bible, and I won't get too religious on this, but the Bible is a teacher of love your neighbor, do right to others, don't defraud, don't cheat, don't steal, don't kill, don't murder, take care of the poor, take care of the needy, put others before yourself. I mean, those are great principles that the Bible teaches. Now, it doesn't mean that all Bible believers act that way or do those things. And that's part of the issue too, is some of the people that are the most adamant about what's right don't behave in that way. I just posted on Facebook yesterday. I pulled out from Gilbert's yesterday and looked in my rearview mirror, didn't see anybody coming, pulled out, and there was a car that was switching lanes, and I guess they felt like I pulled out in front of them, and they honk, and then she just flips me the bird. And on the back of her window is a Jesus loves you with the cross. And I'm like, these seem to be conflicting messages here. And why do people behave that way? Number one, how are you so angry that you got to, flip the bird? I've never understood that one. But then that's your message.
But it happens.
It happens.
And you know what? It makes me really sad that 2020 was such a hard year for everybody.
Yeah,
we were all isolated. Parents were thrown into an environment with kids at home that they weren't prepared for.
Nope.
And, the what's going on in our world, fear. And I think people get worn down. Mm-hmm. They don't have the resilience they had. I feel like now, towards the end of 2022, mine's coming back. Mm-hmm. But I know if I am feeling and have felt in the last 2 years some intolerance, some frustration with my fellow humans, and I'm, the word that my mom uses is Pollyanna. I get it from her. But, somebody who is as optimistic and hopeful as I am feels that way. I just think we need to give each other a little more grace. But the balance is doing that while at the same time trying to ensure that we're having those much needed conversations where we're not at each other's throats.
That's the thing. I say, even in my own business here, 99% of conflict that you have in a company can be resolved with a conversation.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're getting two people in the room together and, okay, he said this and she said this, let's talk about, and then we realize, oh, that was a misunderstanding.
Correct.
That happens most of the time.
Right.
People aren't willing to just have the conversation. They'd rather take offense quickly or give offense quickly. And so I think if there's someone out there that you have an issue with, and I'm sure there is, go have a conversation with them.
No, I agree.
Reach out. Ask if you could sit down and learn them or learn what they're about and understand their point of view. And it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily believe like them.
Right.
Maybe you will.
Well, but I think part of the challenge too is in this digital age where we spend time on screens and behind screens, that what was intuitive to some of us in terms of conflict management, it's now out the window.
Right.
Because we're not talking face to face. My daughters aren't that old, but I don't envy parents trying to help their kids learn to navigate a digital world because, mean girls and mean boys is a real thing.
Yep.
They can hide behind a screen And
Keyboard warriors.
yeah, exactly. And so I think that, for me, it goes back to helping youth learn how to communicate face to face, how to be a listener, how to have an honest, diplomatic dialogue. Diplomatic meaning not seeking to be right, a dialogue with somebody who may or may not agree with you. And we just got a grant from YUSA called it's a civic health grant. And that's the exact focus, is to really have the resources available to offer programming to kids to help them learn how to have a conversation with somebody who may not agree with them, and how to really listen to understand, not to shoot back.
Yeah,
So-
we're losing that in our
Yes,
country. I mean,
absolutely we are.
when I worked in hotels, probably 90% of the people that I interviewed were kids coming right out of high school. Kids between the age of 18 and 25. And it was amazing to me how few of them, number one, knew how to dress for an interview or act in an interview. That's
a whole nother
That's something
story.
we should be
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
teaching in
Yeah.
our schools, but had no ability or even understood the importance of looking you in the eye, having a conversation, answering questions, and they don't know how to communicate. And I know you have a background in this. Communications is what you did and what you've done. Speech and communication, so important.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if it's that we're not teaching it well. I have opinions about social digital media, which we'll talk about. But I certainly think we're losing good communication in our society. And so what do you think, from your opinion, what is some of the reasoning behind that?
Well, I think people believe in the bluster. I have to have a really strong opinion. And if I don't have a really strong opinion about it, it means I'm not informed or I'm not intelligent. People need to be confident in themselves enough to say, you know what, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Right.
Because we don't hear that anymore.
Right.
Everybody has an opinion about everything. And I don't have an opinion about everything. I don't know enough to have an opinion about everything.
Right.
And
Right.
so, but I'm confident enough that if you asked me something and I didn't know enough about it, I'll say, well, I'm not sure. Tell me more.
Yeah.
But, I'm a grown woman and who has a background in some of this stuff. I mean, I know what I need to do to figure out what I don't know.
Right.
And so I think it's important to recognize that we need to help kids be confident, because it takes a lot of courage to say, I don't know.
And there is a big difference between fact and opinion. Sometimes your opinion is
There is?
just, yeah, exactly, right? Sometimes your opinion is just that. It's your opinion, and you're entitled to it, and you can have it, and you can defend it. But when you defend your opinion as fact, and when it's not necessarily fact, that's where we go wrong.
Correct.
And that's where I think, we talked earlier about social media, texting. I think, when someone sends you a text, you don't get the facial expression, you don't get tone. I could say, how are you doing? Or I could say, what are you doing? Right? I could say, what are you doing? I could say, what are you doing? It's the saying the same thing.
Correct.
3 different facial expressions, body language, and
Right.
they all communicate something differently, and you don't get that with text.
No.
So sometimes people text something or put something on social media, and you read it way out of context of what they meant by it. And
Right.
It creates this firestorm of response and defense.
I watch some of that on social media, and I just have to click away. But it's pretty clear that naturally, as a human, we want more of the facial expressions, because look at the number of hits a video will get versus
Yeah.
just a post.
Right.
And so I think
People are
that,
craving it.
yeah, exactly. And I think we are. And again, I see the highs and lows of being isolated at home with just my husband back in 2020. But one of the things I did miss was everybody did the interaction with other people.
Right.
And you just don't pick up on it. Even the verbal is better than nothing.
Absolutely.
But when all you have are words in front of you,
Yeah.
it's not enough.
It's tough.
It's not enough.
So I think it's extremely important that, those of you listening, have that communication. Take someone out to coffee, sit down with them, get to know them, get to understand them. someone that believes differently than you is not necessarily the enemy. Now, there is such a thing as an enemy. There is such a thing as that person that is so far out there and would espouse something so wrong that I'm not going to associate with that person. You know, like somebody that would believe that it's okay to kill somebody. We're not going to come to a common ground on that. You know? So there are issues.
But those are
there's
extreme.
So very few.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Yes. There's so very few. So have that conversation, communicate, and look someone in the eye and get to know to understand them. And I wanted to talk about this for a second because you used to teach this.
I did when I was at the college.
And you used to rate people on their communication skills. So I want you live on my podcast. This is like episode, I think, 90-something or late 80-something. I don't know exactly. I've been doing this for a couple years. I feel like each year I get a little bit better, but still so much room to grow. And I like to learn. So I want you to rate me on my communication skills, and I want you to be honest.
Well, I actually knew you were going to ask me to do this, so I brought a rubric.
Okay. A rubric.
A rubric. You know what a rubric is, right?
I don't.
Oh, so.
I would. That's true. I would do a Christian school.
Okay, well, to keep grading fair,
okay,
which is one of the things I loved back when I worked at Baker College is I helped professionals who would come in from their field of expertise to teach college classes. I used to help them learn some of the basics of what it meant to be a good teacher. I don't know how well it worked. I mean, I saw some that were great and some that, you know, had a little bit more to learn, but which is the case in any time anybody learns a new skill. So one of the things you have to realize is you have to grade fairly. You can't just go on your opinion. Okay. Right? Okay. Someone has either met.
Although I do want to know your opinion.
Well,
also,
you know me well enough to know I will give you my opinion.
You shared some with me yesterday. So.
But that was just about your articulation.
Yes.
The key to having a rubric or a guide is that you're evaluating everybody based on the same metrics. And so, you know, in terms of, I'm not going to go through all of these, but in terms of if you're presenting, you're not talking just to hear yourself talk. You're always talking because you have an audience, right? Whether it's an audience of 1 million, an audience of 4,000, or an audience of 1. Mm-hmm. So one thing is you have to know your audience to know what they're interested in, how they like to communicate, you know, what communication channel would work best. You know, sometimes now, I know sometimes, depending on the topic, a text is more well received than a phone call. So what channel do you want to use? All of that hinges on knowing your audience. And I would say for you that you know your audience really well. So I would give you all the stars there.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Off to a good start.
Well, but part of it too is think of what you just said. You love to talk to people. Mm-hmm. You know, you're out and about in the community. You are a people person. You know, I don't think that anyone would ever say that Tony Nash is an introvert.
No.
So no, definitely not. And so I think that you do know your audience. The other thing that I always enjoy about talking with you is that you are animated. And so your facial expressions, your eye contact, you know, just your overall demeanor of how you present yourself is, I think, it enhances what you're saying. You know, sometimes when I used to teach the dreaded speech class and I'd get people in who were maybe bashful, who just weren't comfortable being the center of attention, because whether it's 2 minutes or 5 minutes, for that time, you're literally on stage and you are the center of attention. And I would comment that they would need to gesture more, you know, just kind of talk with their hands a little bit to emphasize things. And then all of a sudden they'd start, you know, throwing their hands out and I'd be like, oh, I didn't explain that very clearly. So I think, you know, your demeanor enhances, your natural demeanor enhances what you're saying. The biggest thing with communicating and that I used to enjoy evaluating students on was how they formulated their thoughts and how they actually presented their message. And a lot of times they would do research. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously I can't evaluate you on that, but I think having a point and backing up that point is something that for civic discourse or having those conversations, I think is really important. You can very clearly articulate your opinion or your idea or your point, you know, whatever label you want to give it. But then you always have examples. Mm-hmm. You're able to back it up so that I understand if you say that social media has negatively impacted our youth, I can understand from your perspective why. Mm-hmm. And so really the only thing that, and I know I teach you about it, is that I don't know how you can be a mumbler and a fast talker at the same time, but you are.
Yes.
So that's the only constructive criticism I would have based on our experiences doing this and just general conversation.
Yeah, I've been told mumbler before. Not so much a fast talker, although I can see it, but I'll listen back and I'll hear myself like cut half the word off. Like I didn't even say that.
That comes from
I
speaking
didn't even
quickly.
say that full word.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have to learn to slow down a little bit. I always tell myself I'm going to do a 30-minute podcast, and I don't think I've done it one time yet. Yeah, we're an hour 15 in this one. It doesn't even feel like it, right?
We'll have
We're
a
just-
10:30 meeting. So.
Yeah, we're just having fun. So sometimes maybe I'm talking fast inadvertently trying to get through it all.
Well, but the other thing I know about you is you get excited, and the more excited you
do.
get, the faster you naturally talk.
Yeah.
So
Well, I loved speech class in college. It was my favorite class.
I hated it.
I remember my first speech my first assignment was you had to give a 2-minute introductory speech. So 2 minutes just introducing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that as an opportunity to introduce myself to the world, to my class. And so I did like an 8-minute stand-up comedy routine basically on my life story. And it got a lot of laughs. So my teacher was like, that was very entertaining, but you went 6 minutes over. And there was born the No Easy Way Out podcast. 30-minute goal, an hour and a half later, here we still are.
Yeah.
So let me kind of bring it all down to this. We talk about communication and why it's important to have those conversations. But what would you recommend to those listening to the podcast from Laura Archer? I've said this a lot in my podcast. I want to hear from you. What would you recommend to the people in our community that are listening that, even in our own community, there's some divisiveness
Sure,
right now.
of course.
There's people that are upset about certain things happening. And what would you recommend that those people in our community do to open the doors of communication or to let the people around know that they're open to that?
I think it's important for people to ask, why do you think that? Oh, tell me more. To seek more information. Mm-hmm. If they think that the conversation is going to end up with, like if you and I are having a conversation and we're going to end up on opposite sides, the goal is not to be on opposite sides. The goal is to find that middle ground where we understand each other.
Common ground.
But you can't do that if you're not listening to understand, again, to use your phrase. So I would encourage individuals to be very intentional and ask, why do you think that? Or, I don't understand it that way. Tell me more. Mm-hmm. But I think you need to be willing to share, maybe not in the exact words I don't agree, but by saying, that's not how I understand it. Tell me more. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to recognize that it has to be done in a civil way where we're being kind to each other. Mm-hmm. And it can. I have those conversations all the time. So I think it's important that people are intentional in seeking out information that might not be, what they would lead with.
Yeah, before you label someone as the enemy. And again, there is a time where somebody could be labeled as the enemy.
Sure.
That exists.
Right.
There are people that I might say that person is my enemy, but I know that only comes after I have had multiple attempts of trying to reach out, understand, learn, and realize like that person is just diametrically opposed to me and what I'm about, and they're not going to have this conversation with me. And so when I say enemy, I guess I wouldn't consider them like, I'm not going to battle with them.
Right.
But it's just someone that we're not going to get there. But I don't get there unless I know I've made every attempt to learn, understand, and have empathy.
But it's important to recognize you don't get there because one or both parties are not ready to get there.
Sure.
And so
always leave the door open. Don't burn the bridge.
And it's a sense of vulnerability. If I admit I don't know something, I'm making myself vulnerable. Yeah. And that's an uncomfortable situation, I think, for some people. So it takes a lot of courage. We need a lot more courage in our community for people to be able to speak their own truth, but also to be able to listen to other people's truth, because somewhere in the middle is where it's going to help our community.
Is the actual truth, right?
Correct. Exactly.
The actual truth.
Exactly.
Well, Laura, thank you so much for sharing these things. I think it was a good conversation about conversation.
Always.
Good communication about communication. And you're welcome to come on the show anytime. We'll have to make this like an annual thing.
Sure.
Because we still haven't got it all out yet. But there's more to talk about.
Got a long way to go.
But we have to end the show with our favorite segment, or our viewers' favorite segment, is the Whisper Challenge. And this will be a good test in my enunciation skills here. But you've seen this, right?
I have, yes.
We put the headphones on.
This is the part that makes me laugh like laugh
the
out
most.
loud when I
Yes.
watch your podcast.
So our
yeah.
guys over here got, they got the headphones. They got some phrases that we're going to have to say to each
Okay.
other. I'm really, really bad at this. I'm good at guessing. I can read the lips, but I'm really bad at
Okay.
enunciating what I'm trying to say. So you guys got some, you got music going already?
No.
All right. So I'm first. All right. Let's go with, ready?
3 words.
3 words. River boat cruise. I can actually hear the music. Okay. River boat.
Riverboat cruise.
Hey, she got it. You're good at reading the lips.
Holy cow. I was not expecting the music to be that loud.
You're good at reading the lips. All right, here we go. Little AC/DC.
2 words.
2 words.
Sandra Bullock.
Day trip.
Not even close.
Day trip.
No. Sandra.
I can only hear the words. All right, start over.
Sandra.
Day trip. It must not be day trip.
Sandra Bullock.
Bully, something bully.
Bullock.
Bully.
Sandra Bullock.
Day trip.
Sandra Bullock.
That's an S.
Yes.
That's an S, okay.
Sandra.
Say no to bullying. I know that's not what you're saying, but I'm trying to put it all
know.
together.
Sandra
Sandra.
Bullock.
Sandra Bullock. I thought it was going to be something about your honeymoon.
I'm like trying to think of what AC/DC song has
Highway
day
to-
trip in it.
Well, no, I thought you were saying day trip, so I thought it had to be about the honeymoon.
No.
The day
No.
trip to the river boat. Oh, this is a good one. Are we good?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
2 words.
2 words. Purple rain.
Purple Rain.
Hey! Oh, that's the song.
Can you hear it?
That's what I drew. Purple rain.
Literally, he was singing Purple Rain when you mouthed it, so it was super easy.
Purple rain.
Oh,
All right. One last time here to see who's the winner. Katy Perry. All right.
all right.
All right, here we go.
2 words.
2 words.
Focus.
I'm sorry, focus. Okay. I got that.
Okay. Camp Shiawassee. First word.
First word.
Camp. Camp.
Amp.
Camp.
Damp.
Keep going.
Damp.
Camp.
Damp. No, it's not damp.
Camp.
Amp.
Close. Second word.
Okay.
Shiawassee.
Shiawassee. Camp Shiawassee.
There you go. I had to catch myself because I wanted to give you a C.
Yes.
But I
It was good that you just moved. You want a bonus round? Let's do
Sure.
a bonus round. All right. She's better at this than most. All right.
I don't even know this song.
I can hear it though. All right.
2 words.
2 words. Christmas tree.
Christmas tree.
Hey, she can really read the lips. She can really read the lips. See, all of you who've been on my show before, I'm not that bad of a enunciator,
I'm not sure I would say that.
but she is a pro. She's a pro. She's been doing this a while.
Oh, I grabbed the wrong card. This is a hard one.
I just get the music going in my head and I can't focus.
Well, I don't think I knew that last song.
I definitely would have been diagnosed with ADD if that was a thing when I was growing up. Oh, Eye of the Tiger.
2 words.
My time. 2 words. Okay, sorry.
Focus.
I get focus.
I know. Colin Firth.
College.
Colin
College.
Firth.
Firth. College.
Colin Firth.
College first. College first.
Colin.
Khaled. Khaled? This is a DJ Khaled card?
I don't even know what word you're saying.
College. Okay, start over.
Colin.
It really sounds like you're saying Khaled.
Colin.
Oh, Colin.
Colin.
Colin Firth.
Thank you.
It looked like you were saying Khaled.
And here
Well,
I
at
am
first I thought
getting
college
louder
first.
and louder. Like you
I
can
know
hear
these
me.
guys make it about something we talked about.
Yeah.
So we talked about Baker College.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay,
Yep.
college first, but I didn't get it. But
That's all right.
awesome. Well, Laura, thank you so much for
Thanks.
being on our little show here. Normally
for
we do
having
Say It
me.
in 60, but you've already done that. We already know all that stuff. So you can go look it up on the last episode. So before we go, why don't you look at that camera and let our audience know where they can find you, where they can find the Y, if they want to get involved with the programs, how they can get the information.
So Shiawassee Family YMCA is at 515 West Main Street here in Owasso. Our phone number is 989-725-8136. You can find us on Facebook, Shiawassee Family YMCA, or online at www.shiawasseeymca.org.
You've done that before.
I
That was
have,
a great
a few
plug.
times.
One of the best plugs we've seen on the show. Well, thanks again for being here.
Thanks for having
Thanks
me.
for always having great conversation.
Yes,
It's
I
always
appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. We'll have to do it again soon, away from the mic.
Yes,
All right.
for sure.
Have some blue cheese encrusted filet.
Oh my gosh,
Sounds
love it.
good. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, have a Merry Christmas, Tony.
You too. Merry Christmas, and thank you for joining us. Make sure that you are having that communication over the Christmas holiday.
Yes.
That friend or family that's coming to your house who you know you diametrically are opposed on some issues, have a good conversation with them. Do it in your home, do it in your family, do it in your church, do it in your community. I promise you it will make for better relationships and a better overall community, and that's what we have to do to exist with one another. So, as my mother always said, you can't and never could until you tried. So go out there and try something great, my friends, and don't take the easy way out. We'll see you next time.